Hello, everybody, and welcome to MoeGo Live. We will be hosting live interviews with experts in the pet industry on a regular basis. So, if there's anyone you want to hear from or a topic that you want to cover, please let us know in the comments today or any other time. I am MoeGo Nicole, and I will be your host today. And if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the comment section throughout this live stream. We will answer or address them as many as we can during this hour. So today we are excited to introduce Anneli from Pawsitive Transfurmation in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Anneli has been with a MoeGo customer for some time, and we wanted to have her here to be one of our first guests on MoeGo Live. So welcome, Anneli. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I know you're super busy, especially this time of year. So really appreciate you being here. So Anneli, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's really exciting, the whole industry experts thing. I'm glad you're starting with me, setting the bar low. That's good. My name is Anneli. I live in Pittsburgh, like you said. I opened Pawsitive Transfurmation. It's my grooming salon just over a year ago now, and I turned a profit in the first 3 months. By the second month, Pawsitive Transfurmations was paying all its own bills, and by the third month, I was running a profit. So it's been good, and it's been a crazy year. In the spring, I got a poodle, and I started getting into competing. This is Pigeon.
So cute.
And so it's been a year with a lot of exciting growth, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, we have a lot to get through today, so we'll get going. One of our first questions is, what were you doing before you got into grooming?
I was doing a little bit of everything. So directly before I was a groomer, I worked for Google as a content analyst, which is really a fancy way of saying that I was proofreading ads in Norwegian, which is my native tongue. And it was a really nice job. I lucked into it because Norwegian is my native tongue. Otherwise, I would have never, gotten into that. And when the pandemic hit, for some reason, when I'd been working from home for 2 years, and when the pandemic hit, they were like, "No more working from home. We can't afford you, so we're gonna lay you off."
Wow.
I don't know. And that's when the dog grooming thing came in. But before that, I was doing like anything in like low level retail, food service. I didn't finish college. I'm not a very academic type person. I also have attention issues, so if I'm not interested in the subject, it's really hard for me to learn it. So I was not good in school. So I was doing, I worked as a server. I've worked a lot of like mid-level food service type jobs, and cashier jobs, grocery store clerk things, that kind of stuff.
Wow. A lot of customer facing.
Yes, a lot of customer facing, and I still build on that. I think that was good. I think anyone who's worked retail understand like what you learn in that situation and what kind of lessons you take with you into your life after that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So how did you fall into the grooming industry?
All right. So when the pandemic hit and everyone stayed home and everyone went, "Oh, I can get a dog now that I'm home all the time." That's what I did. But 2 years prior, when I got my Google job, I got a little dog, a little miniature pinscher. I did all the online like quizzes, and I was reading about how to find a good breeder, and I still ended up with a backyard breeder, but that's a different story. And I got my little min pin, and I was obsessed. So I grew up with a Samoyed as a family dog. So in my head, having a dog was a huge 6 hours a day commitment. Got to walk them 10 miles. They're gonna shed everywhere. And then for some reason, like when I met my boyfriend, his mom had like a tiny little toy fox terrier, and my brain just went, dogs can be small. Dogs can like fit in apartments. And I got my little min pin, and I was obsessed with her, like painting her nails, getting her outfits, all the the fur mommy stuff. And then so when the pandemic hit and I got laid off, I was like, oh, I should do something with dogs. And I went, doggy daycare. That sounds super fun. That's like playing with dogs all day, right? It's not doggy daycare. It's just wiping up poop all day. But and I applied for a job at a pet store with the idea that eventually that could lead me to a doggy daycare type situation,
Mm-hmm.
maybe running my own. And they hired me as a groomer. And from day one, that plan changed. And I went, nope, I'm a pet groomer now and forever until I die. Amen. Like
Wow.
I can't really describe it. I set foot in that salon and like my entire life changed. And when I say my entire life, I do mean my entire life. Like I'm a different person now than I was before grooming. I parent differently now. I have a son. I parent differently now that I'm a groomer. I look at finances differently. I look at my own life. I look at my confidence differently. Like everything changed for me for the better. And so like I was just like, oh yeah, dog grooming. This is a good fit for me.
That's where you belong. Wow, that's amazing. So what would you say when you opened Pawsitive Transfurmation? What did you want to do to make it different than other grooming, salons or other businesses that you had either worked at or been
I
involved
wanted
with?
to make it all inclusive first and foremost. That was like driving me crazy that we had access to good products in the salon where I was at and where I started. Like Corp has access to better stuff than the basics. It's
Mm-hmm.
just people have to be willing to pay for it. And I was really frustrated trying to convince really nice people who maybe didn't have the money or weren't willing to spend the money either, or trying to convince them that spending the extra $20 for proper shampoo and conditioner instead of the two-in-one is better and is worth it in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like pulling teeth. And I do understand that because, their target clientele is not necessarily the same as what I have now. And I
Yeah.
don't fault anyone for their finances or what they can afford for their dog. It's just not how I personally wanted to groom anymore. And so that was really frustrating to me, the lack of access to better stuff, or lack of clients willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was frustrating that any type of like upgrades, or if I wanted to experiment with different tools or products or whatever, the store that I was at had a fantastic manager that I really liked, and she would let us basically do whatever and do whatever was best for the dog, but we couldn't really charge accordingly. Do you know what I mean? If
Okay.
all of the stuff that I've invested in my salon, that's reflected in my prices,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I could have still made these investments into myself and my skill and my craft at my old job, but I wouldn't be able to charge accordingly for it.
Yeah, that
And
makes.
some places will let you do that. That's not to knock all corp stores or anything, because some places, especially individually owned franchises,
Mm-hmm.
will not always, but a lot of the time be more lenient with that kind of stuff and let the groomers kind of rack up the add-ons and stuff until you hit appropriate pricing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to do that. And this is like a me thing. I really like working with people. I hear so many people who are like, oh, I got into dog grooming because people suck. I like people. I like the owners. I like the owners that just want to do good for their dog and
Mm-hmm.
just maybe don't have the tools or knowledge on how to do that. And I really wanted to create a place where I could take more time with the person, if the person obviously desires that. If they're like, here's my dog, bye, then I'm not going to bother. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I take a much more person engaged approach to my clients. And I don't know, it's been working out for me. So
I love that. So when you first opened, it's just been what a little over a year now.
yes.
How did you attract customers as a new groomer? In your neighborhood and everything like that.
Uh, it started before I opened. Like I built the clientele at Corp that, and I am very, very by the book. So I'm, when I left Corp and they said, you can't tell anyone where you're going, I didn't tell anyone. I said nothing. I didn't say I'm opening my own business. I didn't say I'm still going to be grooming. I said nothing. And people still have been finding me, which is, I do credit to my name being very Googleable. It's been very helpful. I've hated my name my entire life until I became a groomer, and suddenly it's a huge asset. But that helped. Establishing a rapport with the clients that you do get. Every time a new client walks in through the door, you have
Mhm.
to impress the person, both with your skills and with how you approach the owner. Because I have definitely had those owners that rub me the wrong way from the start, and I know I'm being short. I know I'm being, not as friendly as I could be, or just like minimizing the small talk, stuff
Mhm.
like that. But all of that is stuff that prevents someone from coming back to you. So I think that really goes a long way, because people will also talk. Word of mouth is huge in this industry. And when people go, oh, that new groomer at XYZ is so nice and so sweet, and she made my Fluffy look so good, that's always going to win over, oh yeah, they groomed Fluffy and she looked really good. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Having that personal relationship really helps. Other than that, posting, a lot of local Facebook groups no longer allow advertising. If you're in like any of your local community groups, you probably have seen that. Find
Mhm.
other ways, other reasons to post your dog pictures. Like wait for a really cute one and then go, oh my gosh, guys, I just need to show you this cutie that came into work today.
Yeah.
And that really, really helps. Also, referrals. Like there's been referral systems. I was considering doing that over the summer when it slowed down for me, where you ask your existing clients to refer to you, and if they refer a good client, they get maybe like 5 or 10% off. And yeah, a lot of people say never discount your services. I clearly disagree with that. I say price your services so high that you won't hurt if you discount them, because
Yeah.
I do that, and clients freaking love that. I will throw off 5% discount on anything. They love that, especially if it's early on. They're like, "Whoa, the groomer didn't charge me matting fee this time, and she told me how to prevent it. That was so nice." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like just stuff like that. I just basically appeal to the human before, and then later when I won them over, that's when I can really wow them with my grooming skills. They just have to trust me as a person first.
Yes, building that trust initially is so important. So you touched on it a little, but I want to know, how did you grow your online presence so high? You just said, you were super easy to Google. You also have a crazy following on Instagram. So how did you get into that? What got the ball rolling?
Total accent. I I have never once been like, oh, I should get some more followers. I was kind of cruising along with my little Instagram. I think I had like 300 followers, and someone posted a reel. First of all, I posted a couple of reels just because I don't know, they seemed kind of fun, and I've always liked movies and like movie making, and so I made a couple of like small reels, just not the trends that go around with audio and everything, but just like
Mhm.
to show off my salon and stuff. If you go all the way back in my Instagram, and they're still up. I don't delete those. Um, and then a trend was going around. The 1 year anniversary for that reel, I think, passed like yesterday or something, um, where there was like an operatic song and then like a smack that interrupts it, and then like someone giggles, and the trend was you do something self-sabotaging, you smack it away, and then remind your viewers about something better. Like my idea was someone should smack away the caption that I see under every groom picture is, oh, here's this dog. I know this and this and this isn't great. I know the ears aren't correct. I know the
Mhm.
underline isn't blah, blah, blah. I know the legs look so, but he was so matted. I know blah, 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 but pet parent said, and there's all these excuses, and you shouldn't have to make excuses. If you want to show off a cute groom, do
Do
it.
it.
Take
Yeah.
pride in it. And I kept waiting for someone to make that real, because I thought it was like an uplifting, encouraging message, and no one did it. And I was like, come on. And no one did it. And eventually I was just like, fuck it, I'll do it. And I
Mhm.
hated it, and it was scary, and I hate how I looked in it, and I hated nearly everything about it except the messages and the comments that I got on it that said, this is really true, and I need to be kinder to myself. And that was
Really.
very encouraging. And then I noticed on accident again that I had posted a reel 3 days in a row, and I think it was November 3rd, I realized. And Kelsey Ann Sexton had just posted about doing like a reel challenge where she posted a reel a day to see, like, just for herself.
Mhm.
And I went, I'm already 3 days in.
Yeah.
And so I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. I was just like, let's see how long I can keep this up. And I didn't make it through the whole month, but that's what started it. It started my love for reels. It started it made me comfortable being on camera. And then that kind of chugged along nicely. I was like slowly building followings with those reels. And I was really enjoying like the responses I was getting to them. Like people were laughing and people were finding joy in them. And it kind of just took off from there. I've never done anything different. I barely add tags to them half the time. Like sometimes usually I'll add the groomer humor tag, but I also know that's used by the cartoonist over on Facebook. So I'm like a little bit iffy about using that.
Yeah.
But I don't really push them or anything. I never promote them. Like I'll post them to my stories and stuff or my Facebook if they're particularly funny and I think they should be seen. But
yeah,
my primary motivation is just I'm having fun with it. And from what others have told me, that shines through. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Authenticity, always.
Yeah, I genuinely have never once been like, oh, I should figure out how to grow my following. And so the only thing that I think I see like people, if you go, Instagram is really easy to manipulate. The algorithm is super easy to manipulate. So if I want to learn anything about a subject, I will search it like 2 or 3 times, the subjects around that, search terms around that subject, and it'll only show me those things for a while. Yeah. So if you start searching things on like Instagram engagement or like social media management and stuff, you'll get all these Instagram creators giving you like various advice for how to get your reels out there and how to build your following and all. And half of it's contradictory, but the one thing that they all say is show up consistently.
Yeah.
And that is the only thing that I have been doing. And that was like, okay, I try not to let it go too many days without posting something just because I do it now. That's just part of what I do now, apparently. And I really, really enjoy still seeing people find joy in my reels and like get happy. Someone messaged me recently saying that like she was feeling so burnt out. She'd been grooming for like 17 years and she just found my reels and like binged them all. And I saw all her likes scroll up too. And she was just like, oh, this is, I don't know if it's changed anything in me, but it certainly made my week better. And you know what? That made my week better. So.
Absolutely. That is an incredible feeling to know that you help somebody else.
Yeah, and because we stress so much too, so having levity in our days, I think, is really important.
Huge. On that note, I would love to ask and get some of your advice, for tips on avoiding burnout. And that can be, going on Instagram and having those lightheartednesses about the grooming industry.
Oh, yeah. I've been wondering, so I really wanted to say something about it because I burned myself out so hard in March, April. I worked every single day in April, every single day, and at least 10 hours every single day.
Wow.
And burned out so hard. I was supposed to start my journey to master groomer, and I woke up that morning to drive to Ohio. I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. I was supposed to drive to Ohio to go to one of their workshops that you have to start with, and I couldn't move. Like the alarm went off and I was awake. I was ready to go, and my body just would not cooperate. And it's an awful feeling. And I had to cancel so many appointments, and I'm sure I lost clients over it. I know I lost clients over it too. I had to cancel a bunch of appointments. I ended up doing like 2 to 3 dogs a day, 4 days a week through like April and May. I hired throughout this also. So that was, that slowed me down. And the biggest lesson I learned from it, and it's a shitty lesson to learn, I'm so sorry. It's all on you. It's your own boundaries, and you have to say, because yes, people are going to be shitty to you. There's going to be Karen clients, and there's going to be shitty bosses and shitty work environments. And it's going to be on you to put those boundaries for yourself for how to avoid it. if the workplace environment is so bad that you dread going into work every day, you have to change it. And it can feel so hopeless because it's so easy for me to sit here and say, oh, change it. Whereas people, it's not always that easy. People are reliant on their jobs, and so many people in this country live, paycheck to paycheck, that even going like 1 week between jobs is hard. And it's harder still in this industry when you have so many owners who are like, if you leave, you can't take any clients. Don't tell anyone where you're going. You're stealing my clients. And yet, legally, the clients belong to the business. But also, like, I struggle with that idea that, like, you're not allowed to tell people where you're going. So, like, changing your scenery, changing your workplace, and setting boundaries for yourself is really, really important. I burned myself out because I worked 10 hours a day for 31 days straight. And I did that.
Yeah.
No one made me do that. I could sit there and whine all day long until the cows came home that I have to, because where am I supposed to put these dogs? I was supposed to cancel them.
Yeah.
Because if I had canceled them and paced myself, maybe I wouldn't have, nearly not made rent the next 2 months because I was struggling so much with the burnout. Do you know what I mean? It's and it's so hard to set those boundaries because we are so scared of the backlash and the responses we get to it, especially when we're dealing with entitled people, and that can be clients or coworkers or anyone really. And I also think it's really important to think about what stresses you out mentally and not just physically, because if I'm here grooming for 6 hours, that is a short day, and I can go home and relax, or I can go home and continue being stressed out and stressed out and stressed out, depending on what I do with my phone and what I read online and what kind of communities I'm exposing myself to there. So that's also, like, I have twice since I started, like, really getting Instagram followers, done a complete Instagram break where I wasn't online for like a week at all. Like, didn't check messages, didn't look at my feeds, like, at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. I just kind of, like, quietly disappeared. No one noticed. No one noticed. Like 20,000 followers. No one noticed that I had disappeared for a week. That's fine, because I needed that break to reset my brain and
make yourself your priority.
Yes. And you have to do it no matter how much you want to. I had to do it with some of the trade shows this year too that I really wanted to go to, and I couldn't. I went to New England Groom Expo, and I should not have gone. Like, I'm glad I went, but I was so tired when I came back home, and I had that was like because I went to Hershey 3 weeks prior, and I was so tired, and I shouldn't have gone. And I really wanted to go to Fitz Fun in the Sun in Florida, which was like another 2 weeks after that. And I knew that if I went, I would hit a wall again. Like, there was no question about it that I had to not do it, even though I really wanted to. I wanted to so bad. It would have been so much fun, and it would have drained every bit of energy I have left. And that's it sucks to have to set those boundaries for yourself, but it really is all on you.
Completely. So now, do you, give yourself hours specifically every day, or do you give yourself a day off that you just are not grooming whatsoever?
Yeah, I have very strict rules now for when I'm allowed to come in on my days off. Because otherwise clients would be like, oh, no, I can't that day. I can't that day. Do you have anything? And then I'll end up suggesting, like, my day off. I don't do that anymore.
Good.
Getting my assistant was really helpful, because then it was no longer just me coming into work whenever. I couldn't put that on her. So it was either work without my assistant, which spoiled me really fast and I don't want to anymore, or, force her to come in at all manners of weird schedule hours, which no. So set a real schedule for yourself. Stick to it, because when I opened, I thought I had a schedule for myself. I didn't stick to it.
Yeah.
Making schedules, and also thinking about what you're doing that's work that's not at work, again with the mental overload. I used to not understand why I was so tired, even like hours after I came home from work, until my boyfriend was like, well, you're still working. And I'm like, no, I'm not do you see a dog that I'm grooming? And he goes, yeah, but you've been on your email for the last like 3 hours dealing with vendors and updating vaccine records and, working scheduling. And that's work too. And it takes a brain space.
Completely.
Yes.
And it's arguably just as important. It's just different
Mm-hmm.
than, being tangibly next to a dog. So do you have any tips and tricks for new groomers? Obviously, that can be about burnout, but any and all things that you've learned in the past 12 months?
After safety, everything is relative. So we make sure that the dog or cat or whatever animal we're grooming is safe. But after that, nearly everything that I've come across has been super relative and subjective. It's like, yeah, there is a certain manner and certain way that a continental is supposed to look on a poodle.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of scissoring finish looks good is going to be very variable from person to person. What kind of how they do the top knots going to have subtle differences. How they place the rosettes is going to have subtle differences. All of that is going to have very subtle differences. The best example that I can think of was I took a lesson once where someone asked about Bichon heads, if they should be bell-shaped or round.
Mm-hmm.
And her response was that they should be whatever shape your judge thinks looks best. And stuff
Great
like
response.
that is so read as much as you can, learn as much as you can, absorb as much as you can, and then figure out what works best for you and your client in your situation in your job. Because I can tell you about the lessons that I had in balancing a Shih Tzu that would make them look, much better and proportional. But I also know that Luca, the Shih Tzu that I groom, who alligator rolls every time I touch his left ear, is not going to get that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're going to find people who go, don't waste money on quick dry sprays, just clean the dog properly. You're going to find people who go, don't waste money on quick dry sprays, just use 50-50 water and vinegar. And you're going to find people who go, you need quick dry sprays because they're made for dogs. You're grooming a dog. You're not making a salad. And it's so subjective. I know what rules I have in my salon for my clients, for my dogs. And half of it I learned from other groomers and book learning in school. And the other half, I have contradictory knowledge up here that I intentionally chosen not to utilize because that's not right for me in my situation.
Yeah.
So realizing that very few teachers teach you gospel.
That makes sense. Anything else before we jump into your current passion projects?
Not that it can tie into the passion projects.
Awesome. Let's jump to the passion projects. I'll let you take the lead here.
Yeah, the two things that I'm really, really passionate about. And once I kind of got this platform, I was like, well, I feel like I should do something with it, and fair places of employment for workers, workers' rights, because that's not just in this industry, but in this country in general. Mm-hmm. And that is the Norwegian in me who's just outraged by the idea that someone could break their leg and then be like, oh, but my income and my job. And instead of going, oh, but my leg, that is insane to me. And so I'm very much I'm very against illegal hiring. I'm very against shady employers who exploit their employees. I am a staunch supporter of raising the minimum wage and, in relation to that, charging your worth so that you can pay your employees better. And this whole thing started when I saw in a group, someone was asking about hiring and about how to find out if they could afford to hire, because she was getting, or he was getting, I forget who, was getting so many applications from people with little to no grooming background demanding too much pay. And I'm just thinking that it's not about it's not just about what you think the job is worth or what the position is worth, but what someone can live off of. It doesn't matter if you think that a bathing job is not worth more than $8 an hour. No one can live off of that. You're not going to find a full-time bather who's going to do that job, do it well, care about it, and have a fulfilled life outside of work so that he can focus on work when he comes into work if you pay them peanuts. And so I'm really passionate about finding ways that the industry can pay their employees better. And the other thing I'm really passionate about is customer service, because very frankly, there's a lot of attitude treating clients as adversaries, as like the enemy, like they're idiots who just got these stupid backyard bred mixed breed dogs without knowing anything. And I think that there's better ways to handle it. And I recognize that it's tough because people are people, and talking to them in ways that don't piss them off, that while at the same time, you know, making sure that you're providing customer satisfaction without being a doormat. I don't really know how I gained that skill, just like through years of working, I guess, but it's something that I feel very, very strongly about. And I have, granted, I've only been grooming for a very short period of time, but considering how often people would say, like, people who say that clients are awful, entitled, and Karens, I feel reasonably confident saying that they encounter a Karen at least once a year. In my 2.5 years of grooming, I've had a single Karen.
Wow.
And she was very, very upset and demanded to see the manager because I couldn't trim the bangs on her wiggly 8-week-old puppy's face. And she was very upset. You know, she wanted her money back even though she hadn't paid anything. And it was, But that is the only time. And I've had so many clients who were entitled in my salon, who came in on paper looking like a nightmare client. Like, hi, we need to find a new groomer for our 8-month-old doodle Fluffy who's only gotten groomed twice before in his life, but the mean groomers are just lazy and keep shaving him. Like, even those clients, I've managed to like resolve things in a really lovely way. Like I celebrated that a 1-year anniversary of keeping a dog completely tangle free after she had gotten shaved like 8 times in a row by previous groomers. Wow. And that's not because the previous groomers did anything wrong. The dog was mad as fucking needed shaved. But so, you know, it's just about how I spoke to that client that kept her coming back to me. And I don't know what other groomers taught her. It's hard to talk about this without sounding like I'm throwing other groomers under the bus, because that's not what's happening. Yeah. But some wire somewhere, some communication somewhere got crossed, and she was never really taught how to care for her dog's coat. And her doodle, because of course it was a doodle, had so much undercoat. I spend way more time raking out the undercoat of that dog than anything else. Like that takes longer than the bath. It takes longer than the haircut. And that's what caused that dog to mat so much. I don't know if anyone had ever told her, hey, this is why your dog is matted in like the span of a week, because all this undercoat is stuck there and not getting. I don't know what happened at previous groomers, but I know that she's sticking with me. Yeah. And I really... I would have really loved if she would have been able to stick with the first groomer she went to, because that way that her dog would have had a consistent person and a consistent place to stick to. And now I'm consistent in that dog's life, but I didn't have to be. Yeah. And I'm not like, oh, they should come to me because I'm so much better. I don't want that. I want everyone to be better. I want everyone to do well, because God knows there's enough dogs.
Yes. And explaining, you know, educating, walking them through the process.
And I think that's the hardest part is finding a way. It's not necessarily even how we talk to clients, but finding a way with each individual person that doesn't make them feel defensive and attacked. Because as soon as you put someone on the defensive, they close their learning ears. They're just like, nope, you're just a dick. Yeah. And so I try really hard not to come at it in like an aggressive way. And it's hard. It's really hard to remember that. I like to say most of our clients, they're just people who love their pet. Like they're not professionals. Stop expecting people to know things that professionals should know. When we yell about like, oh, people should get well-bred dogs. If you tell people that already has a dog, oh, that dog looks poorly bred and backyard bred, and this is the breeder, that's not a good breeder. Very few people are going to turn around and go, oh my God, you're right. Here, take the dog back. I'm going to go find a new one. They're going to go, why are you being mean about my dog that I love and is super cute?
Yeah.
You know? And so my favorite thing is to talk about my own dogs, because that way people learn, but you're not talking about their dogs. Anytime people comment on any of my dogs, that's an educational opportunity. PB is my heart dog. He's my miniature pinscher and my logo. And so many people comment on what a pretty dog he is when he's in the salon. He's very noisy, so he's not here a lot. But when he is in, people comment what a pretty dog he is because he is Merle.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about breeds, you know Minkins don't come in Merle. And so he is an educational opportunity for me. Every time someone says, that's a really pretty dog, I say, yeah, but he's a genetic disaster. Hey, if you like his look, here's a bunch of breeds that come in Merle.
Yeah.
Because no one is going to go, oh, you shouldn't talk like that about your own dog. Like, that's certainly not to your face. I will be like, oh, my little wiggle buddy, so it's such a genetic disaster. I call him my genetic disaster because he is. He's put together like a Mr. Potato Head. He's got a coloring that he shouldn't have. And he is a neurotic mess, like an absolute neurotic mess. He cannot be. I will never take him to a trade show. He would die. Seriously, he would die, have a heart attack and die. And so, like, using that as educational opportunities. Yeah. Also, my poodle. So many people ask about my poodle, and a lot of people will get. I do agree. It's hard not to get like at some of these questions. Mm-hmm. But again, reminding myself, these are not professionals. They're pet people, and it's not maybe as stupid as it sounds at first. Like, a lot of people ask, does her face come like that, or do you shave it? Because she has a clean face. And I say I shave it. And so many people are like, that's such a stupid question. So what, like, poodles are born like that? You see the rest of her body? Have you seen a Samoyed or any Spitz breed? They got a pretty clean face and a lot of coats. Yeah. It's not like this as stupid as you might think. And I don't know. I just enjoy. I think people learn better when they're encouraged and supported rather than ridiculed and put on the defensive.
Completely.
And that's not to say that I'm perfect at this, because obviously I fuck up. Everyone does. It's, you just keep trying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And, so between that and creating better work environments, I don't know. I feel like those two kind of also go hand in hand, because happier employees are better can provide better services.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're miserable, you
can charge more for better services, which lets you pay your employees better, which makes it. And so we go. You know what I mean? Like, it's just about trying to create a positive spiral. And so when I hired, I made sure to put the wage that I was paying. I put the wage on everything. I want people to know what they have the potential to earn if they come to work for me. Mm-hmm. Because if I don't, especially in a service industry where it's not like a set, it's not always going to be X amount of hours, this many X hours. You can't always clock out when you're supposed to. Sometimes we get no-shows and I have to say, okay, well, we're just going to go home, And so being able to go into a job with some sort of, knowledge of what you'll be making, I think is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that transparency is very important. We do have some audience questions if we want to break and answer some of those. So This doesn't show me who it is, but do you feel you need a website in addition to an Instagram and Facebook page?
I absolutely do, but that's because I don't know if this is a generational thing or not, but for me, I'm an elder millennial. I'm older than I look, and people always get shocked. I'm like borderline Gen X. For me, if a company doesn't have a website, I'm less likely to utilize it. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, that was really important. It lets me have a very neat, organized place to show off my services. It gives my clients, an idea of my costs, because I do list a lot of my costs on my website. And it also just gives me an idea to like put a little stuff about like my bio and just photos and stuff like that. So like anyone who's like, oh, who's this groomer, they don't have to, because if you click my Facebook or my Instagram, most people are not going to bother scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling to find out what it's about. They're going to read what's at the top, and that might not always be the most relevant. I feel like with a
Mm-hmm.
website, you have all the information really easily available. And I also am one of the rare people who really loves online booking. I love my online booking, and so I wanted that up on a website as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to have another question about Instagram. Where
Mm-hmm.
do you find the confidence to do your reels?
Practice. Confidence is not an innate thing. It's a learned skill, and I'm very serious about this. Start taking pictures of yourself. Start taking videos of yourself. Start doing stupid shit. Create a completely private TikTok with a ridiculous username like A2715X, whatever, and just post super private reels. Just get used to seeing yourself being silly and being goofy, and take joy in just the fact that we're able to do this. Like, it's really incredible. Think about how many people across the world we're connecting to right now
Mm-hmm.
versus just going back 10 years. Like, that
Absolutely.
is super awesome. And that really helps me. Like, it helps me if I can look at it with a bit of amazement and a bit of wonder, like kind of like childish wonder. That really helps take away the embarrassment. And also, at this point, like, everyone's doing it. No one is going to be like, oh, you're making videos on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because it's like the most natural thing in the world. But confidence is practice. Confidence is just doing something over and over and over and over until you feel better about it. Like I said, the first reel I made, I hated everything about it. Now I go back and look at it and I'm like, but but the what made me start posting them was really just that my desire to show off something positive was greater than my fear of looking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And now there is no fear anymore because I know I look ridiculous, and that's apparently what's working for me. So but practice. It's just practice it for yourself. Practice it for if you have an intimate partner or a family member or a best friend, someone that you trust a little bit more. Start with them, start with yourself, then with them, then expand. It really is just rehearsing, saying to yourself in the mirror over and over and over again that this is fun and I'm having fun with it and this is what I want and this is what I enjoy doing. And also try to curb the outwards negative self-talk. I have all of the thoughts that everyone does. Like, oh, I look ugh in this one, or ugh, my hair is like ugh, or my ugh, there's my fupa, whatever. I never post that anywhere. I don't post, I know I look XYZ in this because if I post it, then I will see it every time I go back and see that reel.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I post it, someone's going to go, no, you don't. And then I'm going to get reminded of it every time I see that. No, I'm going to post it and not say anything about my shortcomings and then watch as no one else mentions it either.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we have a MoeGo question. What is your favorite MoeGo feature?
Oh,
Wait, I'm putting you
man.
on the spot.
Being able to block. So I love online booking, but people can't book just willy-nilly.
Mhm.
Everything has to be approved by me. Every time someone online books, I get an email or a message saying, hey, someone requested an online booking. I can go in and look at their profile. I can go in and look at their dog. I can go in and look at when they requested the book. I can even move it right then and there. I can say, oh, I don't want to groom it right then, but I know these guys are flexible, so I'm just going to move it over here. And I love that I can kind of throttle the online booking that way.
Mhm.
And I love the intake form. The intake form is fantastic. People call and want an appointment, and I don't have to spend 20 minutes on the freaking phone getting all their dog's information and all their information. I can just say, hey, I need a cell phone number, and I will text you an intake form, and I've made a block in the system for your appointment. Once I get the intake form back, I will replace it with an actual appointment time, and you will get a text message. It's the best thing ever. Phone conversations are like less than a minute in my salon. It's glorious.
Yeah, that's very nice. Wow. Thanks for that. We'll have another one. Starting out new mobile groomer. How do you tactfully say you only groom dogs up to a certain pound? So many doodles and they just won't be profitable.
Very easy. You just say the X pound weight limit. Before I started my salon, I had a weird overlap between my first job and my salon, where I did house call and groomed out of my basement. And my house call, I had a 25-pound weight limit, and that's exactly what I said. 25-pound weight limit for house call. If someone questioned it, I would just say my equipment doesn't support bigger dogs, unfortunately. In this, for mobiles, it's a little bit different, because mobiles, you tend to have a vehicle that can hold bigger dogs. But a lot of people are also very, very used to weight limits on dogs now. Half the calls that I get to my salon start with, do you have a weight limit? I don't in my salon. But it's very, very common to just go weight limit. If they question it, they're not the client for you. Why do they need you to groom their dog so bad? That's just how it is. There could be a number of reasons behind it, from anything from, maybe you have 2 slip discs in your back and your doctor doesn't want you doing big dogs anymore, to just plain, I don't want to. You don't have to say they're not profitable. Just say weight limit.
Yeah. Awesome.
I also think people over-explain to their clients. I never give clients reasons for anything. One time I rescheduled clients because I really wanted to go get a burger, and I was just like, we have a scheduling conflict. I did that once, just to be clear. That's not a common occurrence, but I never say why I reschedule clients for anything. I don't give them reasons for anything. It's all administrative reasons, business reasons, scheduling conflicts.
There is another MoeGo question. Do you add your policies and new client forms on MoeGo? I heard you say you texted customers.
I do. I have it set up so when people request an online booking, they have to read through my agreement. I have a service agreement. They have to read through and sign it. The same goes for the intake form that I sent to them. They have to read through and sign it. If for some reason they're booking in a manner that they don't read through and sign it beforehand, they have to do it when they come in with their dog. To begin with. And MoeGo makes that really easy too. Like, I can just pull up, their agreed. They have a separate tab for agreements, and I just pull up the agreement that I want and have them sign it right then and there on the iPad. It's really, really easy. I had an attorney look over my service agreement. I wrote it up myself, cobbled it together from a few other service agreements, and did some writing myself. And then I sent it to an attorney and paid for her to just look it over and make sure that it wasn't like a complete hogwash. Mm-hmm. And she could have written me a brand new service agreement for me, which, if you can afford it, I recommend, but I could not afford it. So proofreading, looking it over, was where I could afford that. But yeah, every client has to sign my service agreement here.
Awesome. Here, I know that we're getting questions. Okay. I'm just going to go with the audience questions. We'll go to the pre-registered after. Do you text your clients via MoeGo or from your business phone?
Both. I should be a better person and only text them from one number, but it's so convenient to use the keyboard, because I use the desktop. I used both the mobile and the desktop versions of MoeGo. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to text them from the desktop version. And again, this comes from me having worked with computers, but I prefer a full-size keyboard. I don't like typing a lot on the phone. It's too and so I text people from the MoeGo app and from my business phone when they text that. I know a lot of people will set up auto responses from their MoeGo line and say you can't send text to this number, automated messages only. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be that keeps the text costs down for sure. If you, because on a cell phone, you pay for unlimited messages typically. Whereas MoeGo, I know after a certain amount, you do hit a point where you have to pay for them, which makes sense. That's just how telecommunications work. But yeah.
Perfect. Okay, let's go to some of the pre-registered questions. But please, everybody who's in the comments, put in, we're still answering live comments, so I'll just toggle over here. Four Paws Only Groom asks, how can you find the right employees to hire?
That's a super tough question. Luck. I started with advertising. I worked really hard to get my business up to a point where I could pay what I wanted to pay. I could have hired almost from the get-go, but I didn't because I wanted to pay a certain amount and I wasn't able to do that without a price increase. I had to do that first. And it was complicated, but I started with advertising all of those benefits, pay being one of the biggest ones. Because right now, one of the things that I see people struggle with the most is that they're like, where are all the groomers to hire? No one wants to work. No, we're working. We're just, already employed elsewhere. So your target is not the unemployed groomer who just really needs a job. Your target is a groomer who's already happy elsewhere, and you got to offer something better to make them come to you. And that's tough. I honestly don't have a straight answer for it, but that's how I start anyways, to advertise good pay and the benefits that they get. I can't afford to give health benefits yet, but I hope to within the next year or two. And I said, my employee is also, she's like 23 or something. So I said, you have 3 years before you have to go get off your parents' insurance until I have to be able to provide you with one. But advertising the benefits, I think, is really, really important. And also recognizing what people want out of a job, which is not a free pizza party every Friday. Like those type of like job perks should not be advertised as reasons why you should come work for someone. I buy my employee Starbucks or lunch or whatever. I didn't put that in the ads. That's something I do because I appreciate her and because we're having fun at work together and because she's a good employee. Yeah. Like that is not a reason to come work for me.
Work perk.
That is like a tiny perk that I do for funsies.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of stuff drives me really crazy. And Google taught me a lot about that because Google is all perks. Because they want to keep you at the office at all hours. That's why they have a diner there. That's why they have free snacks in the kitchen. That's why they have free drinks and free whatevers. That's why they have office parties so that you can go back from that party to your desk and keep working. And so like these little things I don't consider them like any reason to take a job. They're just there. And if you enjoy them, that's awesome. But like avoiding the filler stuff that makes it look like you care more about the fluff than the actual workers' rights, I think is important. And also presenting your job place as a good place to work. And again, this is going to be so subjective. If you say that at your place, your family, so you don't do drama, I'm going to just like, nope, bye. Every place that I've been like, we're family, we don't do drama, has been drama. It's a place of work. You're not obligated to anyone. And employers should stop looking for employees that will care about the business as much as you will, because they don't exist and they shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
I choose to be a business owner. So I choose to take on the responsibility of having to put down my job when I come home and having to put down the phone and having to not work, into the late hours of night. I want my employees to be able to come in, groom dogs, and go home and not worry about it anymore. And I don't know, all of that kind of stuff, I feel like people are looking for more now than anything else. People are more focused on a livable wage and a good work-life balance than they are about like perks.
Friday pizza.
And also stop advertising basics as luxuries. Like, oh, come work in our salon. We have hydraulic tables. That's not, come work in my salon. I have a door. Do you know what I mean? That's why are you advertising that? Like, advertise about your electric tub. I did that. I threw my electric tub in there because I know that not every salon has that.
Yeah,
You
what
know,
differentiates you.
advertise about what kind of time you give off. I did that too. I threw in how much time they would get off and when they would start accumulating that time off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like stuff like that. But it's tough. But you're basically creating your ad for groomers who are already employed elsewhere and who are happy being employed elsewhere. That's your target audience. How can you entice those groomers to come to you?
Absolutely. All right, we have about time for one more question.
I talked too much. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm very long-winded.
this is great. This is great. Where are you in your master groomer journey?
I have shelved it. It is maybe next year an undertaking. I do need to travel to a workshop because there's none planned near me. And until I get a few other things straightened in my brain, again, this comes back to the burnout. This was a boundary that I had to set for myself, that
Absolutely.
I had to shelve the master groomer thing for right now. I really want to, but I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build this business and get into competing and train my employee. And I have this poodle who's still a puppy that I'm still learning on. And it was just too much. I cannot take on another thing right now.
Your cup is...
I will, it's like, let me ask again in 6 months and we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You need to prioritize your time, take care of yourself so you don't...
Something had to give, and it couldn't be my family. It couldn't be my business.
Mm-hmm.
So I either had to put competing on hold or master grooming on hold or something else on hold.
Yeah.
And it ended up being master grooming.
Absolutely. Well, we are coming to the top of the hour. I just wanted to say thank you so much. This was incredible. I love learning more. I hope everyone else did. I hope you had fun. And a friendly reminder, this will all be recorded. So we'll send it out to those of you who pre-registered, but it's also going to be live on our Facebook and our YouTube page. And Anneli, before we leave, please let people know where they can find you, how to contact you, your social channels, your website, all of that.
Yes. I am mostly available on Instagram. I do have Facebook. I don't recommend friending me unless you don't know me in real life because I don't use Facebook as a networking tool. So if you friend me there, all you're going to see is political stuff, and that's not great for anyone. But I am on Instagram. You can email me at tinykorean@gmail.com. And let's see, I don't have a TikTok. I know people keep asking me about a TikTok. And sometimes people think I'm on TikTok because they see my reels and they forget what platform they saw them on. I'm not on TikTok. And that's pretty much the only places you can find me. I'm sorry. But I will happen, like, I do get a lot of messages, but because of this chat and everything, I'll try to, if you have further questions about this, please message me and I'll try to answer as many as I can because I did, dedicate some time to this and all of that. Because normally I try not to. That was one of the things that I had to prioritize for my own mental health. I couldn't spend so much time on Instagram answering messages. But aftermath of this chat, go for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Maybe if everyone really wants to learn more, we'll do another follow-up. We appreciate your time so much. I
appreciate people coming to watch this. It's incredible that people want to watch me fumble live.
You were great. Well, thank you so much. And everybody in the comments, let us know if there's another topic or anyone you want to hear from. And we'll see you on the next MoeGo Live. Thank you.
Amazing.